A lot of people would have seen over the last couple of years that housing prices have significantly gone up. What is it? It's like one of the highest points in history across absolutely everything. One of the statistics that I saw was there were some suburbs over 2 years had increased by 47% in these suburbs. Like, if you were looking to try and buy in these places and you were planning on waiting 6 months or you were trying to save for a deposit, you are now basically priced out. And the sentiment of what we're seeing a lot through the news and even people I'm talking to is like, what's going on? Like, how do I even play this game? So a super important one for us to sort of break down. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts around housing affordability? Do you think it's a myth? Do you think that this thing's going straight back down where everyone can afford it, or is it just going to keep going?
This is such a complex topic and issue. And like, I must say I've like benefited immensely. Like, I'm in an area where I think the home I'm currently in has done about 40% in the last 2 years.
That was one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm in that camp. I am enjoying it. But at the same time, I will admit this isn't the dream house, and it also isn't a house that has the room I would like to have to be able to work from home and also have more kids in. So like, I am definitely feeling the pinch on this as well when I look at if I was to like upgrade. It's like the divide and the actual expense has increased exponentially to upgrade my home. Yep. As well as the like stamp duty and things that come with it. So I think the people that are really like feeling this or noticing it are first home buyers, and I do feel for the first home buyers, and then also upgraders. So if you're someone who maybe was like, you know, a young couple and now you're trying to move into a family home or have space for kids, you are absolutely in the pinch of it, and it's a very, very complex issue. But I want to actually talk about this in a bit of a unique way, because I think so many people are talking about it from like the okay, like how do we solve it? From like, do we just bring more supply on? Is government self-interested? But I think this is an interesting topic to cover in the way of like, well, how is this important to Australian business owners? And then also, how does it relate to our wealth? Because we're both property investors, and I would say a little bit conflicted in this issue as well.
Completely conflicted, especially because my scenario is slightly different to yours. Like, I've jumped on the rent vesting wagon, and I'm sitting here looking at this going, so my investment's looking great, but me as a first home buyer of me buying like my dwelling to live in and raise a family in, it is a very different conversation compared to what it was 2 years ago.
Joe, here's something funny as well, just to really put salt on that wound. I got a quote to renovate the place I'm in to make it a dream, like a better home, right? For more kids and proper, you know, Zoom rooms and all that stuff that has become what people want these days. The cost of the renovation was more than we originally paid for the house because building materials have gone up substantially in cost, and there's a trade shortage at the moment as well. So again, like all layers really making this more and more complex.
And I think that's one of the key points for like this whole housing affordability conversation is going, okay, well, holy smokes, like what are the layers? Because I think that we need to unpack them a little bit more just so people understand exactly what we're talking about as opposed to assuming, because it seems like every time you kind of pick up a piece of news, they just go on this little finite problem as opposed to talking about absolutely everything. And so a couple of the ones that I really see, and you've mentioned it, is well, okay, the time to build more, the cost of fundamentally gone up like 30% across the board. The time to build them has blown out. Like you're now looking at like 9-12 months. You got 3-month wait periods, even just for minor renovations, right? So the time it is. In addition to that, you've got what Australia's bringing in, like 160 to 200,000 new immigrants. So you now have got demand wanting all of these houses. People need bigger spaces. So apartments aren't in as big a demand as they once were, especially 1 and 2 bedrooms. So now you've got more people wanting houses. And so all of this is just pushing to say, well, everyone wants bigger spaces, everyone wants houses, they want the backyard, and it does not seem to be going away. And so hence costs of housing, primarily apartments are probably slightly different, is going up.
And interest rates are going up, and cost of living is going up, right? As I said, it's like really layering on the housing affordability issue. It's the hot topic at the moment.
And so before I talk about my speculation on this, because it's really important for us just to break this down to say, okay, what does this actually mean for business owners in Australia? Like, do you see this changing? Like, is this just it was a reaction to the last 2 years? It's going to come down. Interest rates will go up. Not as much demand. Yeah, it'll normalize because people now can't really afford to buy where they want to live, and the salary and wages haven't gone up, etc. Like, where does that kind of sit in your view? Because I think it's really important for where we go and continue this conversation to actually say, okay, well, this is the impact to others.
There's too many self-interested parties. Governments make a fortune on property prices staying high. They're also incentivizing first home buyers. Anyone who owns a home doesn't want it to go down in value and will vote accordingly to looking after property prices. And then any investor is contributing to wanting property to stay high. It's only the people that don't have property that this is affecting, and upgraders, as I mentioned kind of earlier, where they're really feeling it. But I still think the majority of people who own homes or in that are still going to be swaying it. So my view, this doesn't go away anytime soon, and I can actually see this getting worse in the coming years.
Yeah.
Where's your view on it?
Very similar. So I liken it to one thing that I've seen out of the States. So as we know, Elon Musk, Tesla, the whole view and vision for him is that people don't really need to own a car anymore. Like the vision that they've got over the next couple of years or the next 5-10 years is that people will just lease the car, right? Lease it from Tesla and it'll take you to wherever you need to go, put it back and other people can sort of rent it and all those things. But car ownership, in their view, is going to be a thing of the past. It's like, well, why do you need to pay for a big sort of asset or liability, really? It's just unnecessary where you can just pay for it every single month and just use it as you will. Makes logical sense. And so I'm looking at that going, well, if that is innovation, and that's where everything's moving towards, is a lot of people aren't buying cars or aren't needing 2 cars anymore. They're having more of 1 car. Does that happen the same in housing? So my speculation is potentially this whole Australian dream of owning your own home kind of disappears. And I liken it to a point that we were talking about on this podcast a few episodes ago, where like the Australian government used to say, eat mostly carbohydrates and a little bit of protein and stuff. And they're like, well, hang on, no. Like maybe eat more protein and greens with a little bit of carbohydrates. I'm like, is that going to be the new sentiment around houses, which is it is now too expensive, but why do you really need to own one anyway? You are just going to be able to rent or lease where you want to live. And this whole concept of car ownership, home ownership, etc., kind of disappears. And so then people can afford to live where they want to live, but they just don't need to put down 20% deposits. They don't need to do all of those things. And if my speculation, and again, it's just my opinion, nothing else, if that is true, then what's going to happen is a bigger gap between the wealthy individuals and the not wealthy individuals is actually going to spread wider. Right. And that's a really important point, in my opinion, around why this is so important for Australian business owners who are looking to try and create wealth in the business and outside of it. Because if you understand that or if you believe that's where it's going to go, and that's what you're thinking, and you're at the bottom of where this sits at the moment, and you're sort of starting to see it trend up, the question is like, how do you play that game? Like for me, I'm like, dude, I want more. I'm like, if people won't be able to buy houses anymore, give me more. I'll take it.
I feel like a horrible person for wanting more property in the wake of it. I do, because like
well,
I think there's I am conflicted on this. I am like, I see like investors play a key role in the market of providing rental accommodation, right? Yep. So it's like when we buy a house, someone gets to live in it through renting it from us. So, and then I agree with your sentiment of like, I think this is overall the direction. I don't think we go straight there. I will go into some more things. But I very much feel that many people who might be business owners in the have-not category are going to be pushing to be in the have category. Yep. And that's only going to feed into this as well. So very, very, very interesting topic. But I want to bring this back to the business owner part, and then I also want to talk about what I see through this. What I can see happening, and you're already seeing this, and I have people in my life that are doing this, is I can see what's going to occur is more and more businesses are going to have employees that can't afford to live in the cities like Sydney and Melbourne particularly.
Yep.
And what they're going to be looking to do is swap to roles where they maybe come into the office a couple of days a week, which they're probably already doing, or start working remote, and then they're going to move out of cities to more affordable regions like we'll call them, I'm not sure what we'll call them, like major regionals. So not out in the sticks, but it's like if you're in Sydney, it might be Newcastle.
Yeah, just out of metro kind of thing.
Yeah, the 1 hour out points and things like that are going to thrive. So my shorter term view is that I think there's, and I'll use an analogy here, like if you want to lose weight, there's do more exercise or there's eat less food. So if you want to, let's say in this, you've either got earn more or live further out. And I don't see wages keep going up. I think technology is going to keep pushing wages down. So why does this become an important conversation for business owners in Australia is I think if you're a business owner right now who can offer great rates and allow people to work from home, you're likely to take advantage of talent in the short term.
Yep.
So if your employees live in really expensive cities and they get the opportunity to go from, let's say, living in Sydney and their cost of living is through the roof, but if they work for you, they can move regional, have cheaper housing, enjoy a better lifestyle. I think employers are going to absolutely thrive on this. I think that it's going to be a very, very interesting dynamic when you can look after people in that way, that this might actually be your competitive advantage in getting a high quality workforce.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.